Recording.
Fans, welcome to Sports Chat. This week we have a little bit to talk about. Spring break, so sports in Campbell County are going to be in kind of a lull. But yesterday actually, we went to the Volunteer Classic track meet.
Very, very large track meet in the area, probably the biggest in East Tennessee, if not the entire state. Probably 8 or 9 states represented.
Canada
was represented as well.
Canada's just not a state.
It's
Fortunately,
a very
yes.
unfortunate country. To our north, of course.
It's a frozen wasteland.
Awful people live there. That's all you need to know.
But, strangely, first time I've ever saw Kristen Chapman not dominate the high jump.
There was a girl there, I think she was from a school in Mississippi, who actually won the high jump.
Jumped 5'10".
Kristen finished second.
Kristen actually had a great day, but this girl just, she jumped 5'10". She's a senior. Of course, Kristen's much younger and, still growing into her jump, and she's still improving.
Yeah, she'll get there. I would be surprised to see her win this next year, and maybe the year after that too.
Also, Rusty Provins came in third in the shot put, fourth in the discus.
Yeah.
As a freshman.
Yeah, that's a huge track meet. There were probably 40 people that looked like throwing the various throws, and it's a very high finish.
Shayla Goins and Bethany Meredith both finished in the top 20 in shot while we watched them. And again, there were about 50 to 60 people throwing.
You had a big groupings of people. Campbell County was represented well by people from Campbell County that are at other schools and people from Campbell County that are at Campbell County.
Kendra Miller came in 10th in the hurdles overall.
Out of 60 or so runners in that. Just missed qualifying for the finals by 1.
The medley hurdle team came in 5th, I believe.
Yeah.
So, there's still a lot of good track going on. And as far as the future of track goes, and I just put some pictures and stories up on the Times, on the website itself, of the Area 2 meet that we went to Monday. Both middle schools did really well. The Lady Eagles actually won their meet. Michaela Smith won the shot put in the discus. Gracie Faulkner, following in that family tradition, she's a 6th grader and had a great day in distance. Her and Brooke Bain were co-distance runner of the event.
Yeah, the Faulkner family definitely has that track blood in them. Coach Faulkner still up there working the races.
There's something that feels right after going to all these other track meets everywhere else to go to Campbell County High School, see Coach Faulkner up there 2 days in a row because he worked the middle school meet and the high school home meet the next day. And did really, an outstanding job. It's good that he's still involved.
It was a busy week at Campbell County for, lots of stuff going on Monday. I think there were baseball, softball, and the middle school track meet was Monday, and I think there were baseball, softball, and high school track meet on Tuesday.
Right, we went up, saw some baseball. We didn't quite get down to the softball field in time. And also the tennis team, who we went to see, they won. Unfortunately, it was by forfeit.
Once again, teams just didn't bother to show up, didn't bother to call or anything because just the lack of facilities in Campbell County for tennis.
I'm going to say it again. We need to step up to the plate and build these kids a tennis facility.
That's really not that expensive to build the tennis courts.
And the tennis team in the past, there's a great record at Campbell County High School of good tennis teams.
That's one of our more successful sports.
It really is.
It literally is right up there with track.
I believe they're in the top 3 or 4 this year in the district, and doing really well this year.
It's a shame they don't have a place they can call, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, they don't have a home court. And again, I said it last week, and I said it in my column this week. I give great kudos to Cove Lake State Park and the city of La Follette for, stepping up and having courts these kids can use and making sure they get to use them during the meets. But it's still just a load of bull that they don't have a home court.
Yeah, I mean, there's room up there at the high school. Those huge front lawns that are just, empty.
But even in the back, there's places they could easily put 2 or 3 courts.
Well,
Yeah.
we talked to Jason. He said they really needed 5 courts to successfully have a home meet. Now, see, originally the plans at the high school, where the softball field and the ROTC obstacle course are, that was originally tennis courts.
Okay.
So some tax-fattened school board hyena back in the 70s apparently decided it was best to just to cut these courts out for whatever reason, and the school has suffered ever since.
I'm glad that there's a softball field there and the RTC has their facility. There was one there when we were there. That was just a field.
The softball field was built like right before I got there, or in really due to some heavy fundraising and heavy pushing by Coach Rutherford and a few others in the community, and I think we need to see that same tenacity now for another group at the high school that needs some recognition for what they've done.
It's just like we talked before. The high school softball team used to have to play at East LaFollette.
I'm not even certain the tennis team has had a home match this year.
I've tried to go to 3, counting Friday.
No, the other team didn't show up for any of the group that we've tried to go to.
So, and that's, that these kids deserve to have hometown fans come see them without having to drive to wherever.
I'm surprised the TWSAA allows it, to be honest with you, since you have to split the teams up and you have to, by default, have one team and no coach there.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, Campbell County only supplements 1 tennis coach.
I mean, it's not even
Every other school in the district
even if you
supplements
can't,
too.
even the other teams that don't play at home, they have such large amounts of courts where they play.
Tyson Park, for example.
That they don't have to split their teams up. But here, you have to have one team at Cove Lake and one team at the La Follette courts at the recreation center, and that's 15 miles apart, basically.
There are 3 courts at Cove Lake, and I think there are 4 in La Follette, maybe 5. I don't remember how many there are at the lower courts at the rec center. But I mean, just all being said, you divide the teams. For example, let's say a brother and sister both make the tennis team. Their parents are never going to get to see them both play on the same day, most likely, because of the situation. Somebody needs to step up. No secret, we've been kind of critical of some things the school board did athletically. I stand by everything I said there. But, they need to step up and do something good for a change. They need to figure out a way to get some tennis courts for these kids. They're the only team, not counting golf and cross country, because
no school's
going to have either of those.
That covers miles.
But they're the only, there's no facility. When we were at Carnes the other day, I stood on the tennis court because otherwise I would have been standing in ankle-deep water to take pictures. Oak Ridge has tennis courts. Central, I'm pretty sure, still has tennis courts.
I said before, Cumberland Gap, tiny school in Claiborne County, tennis courts. J. Frank White, tennis courts.
Claiborne County High School.
County High, tennis courts. Everybody has tennis courts except Campbell County, basically.
So somebody out there, I know there are at least 15 of you that watch this show.
Oh, really, some business could easily afford this. There's some very well-off businesses in Campbell County.
Right. I mean, somebody out there with a paving company, for example, really needs to step up to the plate. You can write it off on your taxes as a charitable donation. Give these kids a tennis court.
You have a fencing company, a paving company.
Jason Ivey, the coach, told us that, if they could get some courts laid, they could get a finishing grant from the USTA, the United States Tennis Association, to finish the courts,
I know that football and basketball are popular sports compared to some others, but every kid that plays a sport up there deserves to have the same treatment as the other kids.
Right.
It's just like volleyball, for example, because we've got summer volleyball coming up, so I'll bring them up. Their first season, they played at Jacksboro Middle School because the gym was already fit to have the nets sunk in. Those girls got out and fundraised until they were able to retrofit the floor, John R.W. Brown Gymnasium, so we could have volleyball matches at home.
They'll be starting up pretty soon. We'll let you know when. Everybody should try to get out to those if they can.
You know, volleyball, just a few years old. I covered the inaugural season. For the times the first time around, those girls work hard. And, you know, they're going to be working hard when everybody else is enjoying their summer. These girls are going to be playing in a summer league to get ready for the fall season.
Other sports, LaFollette Middle School still hasn't filled their coaching position yet.
I expect within a week or so to hear something there. Spring practice right around the corner for the two middle schools and the high school. LaFollette obviously is going to have a coaching staff in place.
Yeah.
Of course, Jacksboro, Mike Miller is still the head man there. He'll have practice probably as soon as spring break's over. Coach Minot, who's still working very short staffed right now, is going to be ready for spring practice as soon as school starts back.
Well, we'll see who he hires for his staff. It should fill up pretty soon.
I would think so. I mean, he told me that he was waiting on some people to get released from contracts to come down here.
Coach Dotson, the athletic director at the middle school, LaFollette, he gave me a few names that they were sort of looking at, and we'll see.
In the names he gave, they're all good coaches.
Yeah. LaFollette's going to get a good coach. You know, Parker, he was an exceptional coach down there, and you know he went home. This be understood that he did. And, you know, this may fuel the rivalry a little bit though. This following season on the basketball court.
I can't wait to see it. I mean, Adam Ellison, who happens to be Cody Parker's best friend, is still an assistant coach at LaFollette. You know, this is going to be a clash, like they said on Twitter the other night, from the PlayStation to the hardwood, because they've been competing in basketball as coaches against each other for years. They get to do it for real now, and it's going to be good because they're both great coaches. Coach Dotson's a great coach on the middle school level. Jacksboro and LaFollette's going to be big this year.
Yeah, just put a lot of heat back in the rivalry. It was very fierce back in the '80s.
It was. I mean, you know, you've heard me talk about how Vic King and I used to not get along. It was because he coached for LaFollette. And by saying not get along, it just pretty much meant as a Jacksboro fan, I felt it was my obligation to not like him.
I'm not certain that Coach King really went out of his way to not like Patrick.
Probably didn't. In fact, Coach King has always been just an exceptional gentleman to me. But my duty as a Jacksboro Eagle was to dislike Vic King. And I did, intensely. And I'm thankful that I got over that. But, you know, this rivalry, I mean, there's going to be kids that played for Parker on LaFollette's team.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, you know, going against your old coach. But, you know, it's going to be good. Jacksboro and LaFollette football will be good this year. The Egg Bowl, once again. Parker took the trophy to LaFollette with him. Now, ironically, he's coaching basketball there. And Mike Miller's going to have to try to bring back the trophy that Cody Parker took from him.
Yeah, LaFollette Middle School will probably be doing a little rebuilding this year on the basketball and football fronts. You know, I expect it's going to be a good competitive.
Jacksboro is going to be rebuilding this year too with kids that they have that actually are probably going to go up to the high school simply because they're going to be going with their coach. You know, it's going to be a good sports year coming up.
So I'm really hopeful that Matt keeps all these kids and keeps them from going to other schools, and that the new football coach can keep the kids from going to other schools.
Real quick, Jared Laverdier is going to be Matt's assistant coach. He was assistant coach at Maryville College last year. Played at Jacksboro under Sean Jesse. Actually played on the same team as Cody Parker in middle school. Well, fans, this is it for this segment. We've got a special guest coming up in our next segment, so we'll be right back.